What's up, nerds? Welcome back. Today I'm talking about the United States of Captain America #4, and I'm starting to feel like that kid sitting in the back seat on a road trip asking, are we there yet?
Happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads. You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy! Not now, damn it! Truck tire! I can't stop! Help! There's a cliff! And your family's screaming, oh my God, we're burning alive! No, I can't feel my legs! In comes a meat wagon! Wee, wee, wee. And the medic gets out and says, oh my God. New guy's in the corner puking his guts out. All because you want to save a couple extra pennies. And to me, it doesn't...
Get out. Now.
Do you validate?
Now.
Alright, so we're continuing along on this adventure, if it can be called that, and let's just kind of get into it, because if you remember, with each issue we are debuting a new version of Captain America or whatever, and the majority of them have actually been on the cover. This time it's not. This is like the villain, so apparently this time she didn't make the cut, but let's kind of get into it. So we're starting out with the three, well, I say the three Caps, but the thing is, the only one not dressed as Cap is Bucky, who was like the second one. So I don't know why they're making more of a point of having like Sam in his like Captain America gear, but like Bucky isn't. Like, if they're all gonna do the Captain thing, why isn't Bucky wearing his too? But whatever. So we start out with this where Steve is saying America belonged to them before it belonged to any of us. The truth is, my ancestors were colonizers. So, because they're looking at the last one, what was his name, Joe, the Native American Captain America. So he's saying Irish and English, if you go back far enough. Sometimes I wonder what gives me the right to bear the name of this land instead of someone else, someone like Joe. To which Bucky has to counter, well, one, Joe is Captain America, and one, no, he's not. And then it says, and two, the fact that you even think about these things make you who you are. And so he says, well, Sam says, well, I love you tons too, but if you're looking for validation, you're probably asking the wrong guy. You might also be descended from slave owners. No, he's not. No, he's not. Steve's parents were Irish immigrants who came here in the early 1900s after the war had ended. So I don't know why you're going to all of a sudden throw shit in. You know who might be descended from slave owners? You, Sam. You might be descended from them. Who's the editor on this? Like, did no one catch that? I read my first reading. I saw it. I was like, no, he's not. I was like, his family wasn't even here at that time. Anyway, so he says, no, staunch abolitionists, at least. Again, they weren't even in this country. They were in Ireland. So he says that, at least, that I can tell you. But he says, but still, this flag, carrying it, wearing it, it's heavy. I'm honestly thankful for everyone who stepped in to help bear its weight. You two, Aaron, Nichelle, Joe. Oh yeah, Nichelle's not here either. So he says, let's head out. We're stealing focus from what the Kickapoo are trying to do here. So they go back to, like, I think it's Sam's little cabin in the woods or whatever the hell. And they're trying to do, like, research or, like, listen for any just trouble out on the horizon, I guess, that might in some way have some sort of description of Captain America. So he's saying, I'm listening to everything, but continued radio silence on our false patriots' whereabouts. And Steve is trying to call, like, all of the other captains. And he says, at least we've got Aaron and Ariel inbound. That's the new one. So Bucky's asking or telling him, like, you know, Steve, you could just store all of those numbers in your phone. You don't have to dial them one by one. But he just says, Bucky, please, not you too. And then all of a sudden, this is when we get these two children walking in. And so Steve says, good to see you again, Aaron and Ariel. Nice to meet you. She says, same, but fair warning, I got car sick driving up here on those switchbacks. All right. I'm not going to talk too much shit about that because my boyfriend tends to get car sick very easily, so I understand. Anyway, Aaron says, and just to cut to the chase, I'd like to try that amazing outdoor shower out there. And then I'd like to live here for a few months. Well, how about you ask? Instead of just saying, this is what I want to do. How about you ask if you can? Anyway, nobody teaches manners anymore, I swear to God. But anyway, Sam is telling him, like, Mikasa es su casa. He says, man, this is shaping up into a nice little team. Yeah, because you have little people in it. Anyway, he says, agreed, but there's one more I want. He's meeting me at that bar down at the highway turnoff. But Bucky's just like, no. Cap, I'm even going so far as to say, please no. So he apparently already knows who it is. And in case you're wondering, it's U.S. agent. So just to demystify anything you may have been wondering there. So Sam is saying, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that reunion either. How was the drive, he asks Ariel, other than the car sickness? And she says, good, I swung down from Boston through New York and picked up Aaron. And oh, God. And Aaron says, yeah, we basically sang... we just both sang along with Hamilton the whole way. She's like, yeah, it was about 6 full performances. I hate musicals. I hate musicals with every fiber of my body. My friend, who's also a big old Mo, and was in musical theater and just regular theater for a while, he hates musicals too. So I'm tired of this stereotype. There are a lot of us in the community who hate musicals. Granted, he liked Hamilton. I still haven't seen it because I don't give a shit about it. But anyway, so we go on where Bucky is telling them, I'm real glad to meet you, but I also want to say again that this is going to get pretty dangerous. Yeah, so y'all shouldn't be taking children out there with you, but apparently that's what we're going to do. And this is where Sam reminds him, like, look at you of all people trying to make them into tiny sidekicks. And he's like, no, I'm not. And they're just like, we get it, trust us. And it's amazing to meet you two. So this is when all of a sudden Steve comes in and just starts like being this nagging husband. He's like, Bucky, you coming or what? And it's like, okay, calm down, Mary. So he's asking him like, why do I have to go? But Sam tells him, go on, little one. Papa is waiting. Besides, he's going to need help reeling in the other dude. So Bucky's like, all right, fine. So then we cut over to NORAD because as we can see, the villains are now assembling to just invade NORAD because what they need is here and you'll find out. So they're walking in, and if you're wondering who this is, a case you just don't know, this is Warrior Woman, although she's now going by Commander Krieger. She started in like the original, the Avengers thing. Like she started here as just like a regular woman, and then she like revealed herself to basically be a spy for the Germans. So she kind of like turned on them, and she's like holding the gun. But it's actually in the next issue where she actually takes on like her persona of Warrior Woman. So that's where we have her from. But like I said, they're doing this whole thing where she's like, she finds that insulting, that name Warrior Woman. I don't know why. I guess because it has the word woman in it. And for some reason, women have a problem with being called woman now. I don't know. It's really confusing. But anyway, they come in and she's saying, Superior, Speed Demon, span out. You know what we're looking for. So Speed Demon's like, yes, Commander Krieger. And she says, jawohl, Krieger Frau. And then she tells them, and if anyone gets in your way, just remember to have fun. So we go back over to some other people who are having fun. We see Aaron and Ariel are sitting here playing a video game. And I guess Aaron is playing as Iron Man. He's like, man, Iron Man sucks in this game. And she's like, yeah, you're going to go down, rich boy, and shit like that. So she's over here saying, like, you could have picked, Speedball and you would have had a better chance. But he's like, yeah, I just don't mind seeing Iron Man lose to Cap in this game. It's like, all right. So while they're doing that, Sam picks up a transmission coming from NORAD. This guy trying to reach literally anybody and tell them, like, we're under attack. Please send help. So he turns to them as like, we're leaving right now. So they go to take off, and then we go from there over to where Steve is about to encounter U.S. agent who is just drunk in front of God and everybody on probably a Tuesday afternoon. So he's there and he's talking shit to the bartender when all of a sudden Steve walks in and says, in the middle of something, John, he's like, Steve, what took you so long? Oh, hey, the kid's here too. So Bucky's like, kid? And he's like, he's just trying to like rile you up and shit. So he starts talking shit some more. He's like, so what's the story, Morning Glory? Is this some kind of arrest? Because I just want to tell you in person, I'm not down for that, okay? And he just says, I'm here for a help walker. And he's like, I don't need help. He's like, I need help. So he says, I could use another Captain America, even if you're going by U.S. agent now. He's like, really? Hey, where's your shield? And he just says, stolen as part of a neo-fascist plot to murder a vast network of grassroots heroes and destroy the mantle of Captain America. To which he rightfully is like, destroy the mantle. Heaven forbid. So he's telling him, now, John, I know we have we have a lot, but I also know you love this country more than most, perhaps as much as I do, and you'd give your life to protect it. So all of a sudden, Sam runs in and says, we gotta move. Our shield thief and his friends just invaded NORAD. So they all take off on their bikes and shit. And then, as you can see, U.S. agent is riding with Bucky, and he's over there saying, like, I have a motorcycle too. Like, y'all passed it as we were leaving. And they tell him, you're not driving drunk, which, okay, yeah, he's probably far too inebriated to do that. But then you get from, who was it, Aaron? Inside is saying, like, we could have taken it and abandoned my 400,000 mile shitbox. Well, actually, it's Ariel who's saying that because she's the one that drove. But anyway, Steve says, neither of you have a Class M license. And she says, but that doesn't mean we're not willing to learn. And yeah, you might as well have just let them. Like, you're letting them go with you on this dangerous mission to go and fight supervillains. Is it really that far of a stretch for you to just let them try riding a motorcycle? I mean, come on now. But anyway, Sam says, you were saying your shield gives you access? And he says, yes, certain facilities, top secret clearance to projects I'm involved in. And he's like, and one of those is at NORAD. He says, it is, yes. That must be what they're looking for. So U.S. agent says, are you going to make us ask what it is? But he says, hate monger. And he's like, oh boy, great. So then we go back inside the car and, oh, what do you know? I guess they both know how to drive, which is kind of weird. We've never been given any indication to see that Aaron knows how to drive because he's just a homeless kid. So I don't know where he learned to drive, but apparently he knows how. And so Ariel is asking, what's a hate monger? And they answer her by saying it's living psychoactive energy derived from Adolf Hitler's consciousness. And she's like, wow. So you go back outside, and this is where Bucky's saying, like, you're coming up pretty fast and hard on Godwin's law. And that's where I think, who is it? Sam asks, what's Godwin's law? U.S. agent says it's this idea that the longer a conversation goes on, it'll inevitably involve Nazis. But then we get this weird interaction where Steve says, I don't think that's fair. I've come up against plenty of folks in my time, and a lot of them weren't Nazis, which is absolutely true. And then he throws out this example where he says Batroc isn't a Nazi. And then Aaron has to do the whole guilt by association bullshit where he says Batroc's worked for Zemo, who used to run Hydra, which was also once run by the Red Skull, who was mentored by, and Steve's like, yeah, all right, Queen, I get it. So, well, he didn't say Queen, I'm throwing that in there. He says, all right, I get it. So what? Fascists really don't like me. Good, you're welcome. So they keep going from there, and then we cut back over to where the evil team is coming up on Hate Monger, and he says this really hilarious thing where he says, who disturbs my furious lamentations? So dramatic. But anyway, she says, it is I, Lord Hate Monger. And he's like, Julia, why? To what purpose? She says, the purpose of your freedom. This divided American wasteland is ripe for a new leader, you. He says the Red Skull already failed in this scheme, but she says the skull used overt hate, fringe iconography. We will use America against itself. You will be our new head of state. Superior and I will act as governors of its newly fractured regions. She the West and I the East. And he says America against itself. She says, I can easily turn these citizens against their very symbols of liberty, their stars, their stripes, this shield, the man who bears it. I have already made great strides because this nation is sick to its core. This America will provide you a feast of hate. You'll be nigh invincible. So, if you really wanted to divide the country and just foment hatred amongst the people, the populace, you didn't really have to go through all of this surreptitious means. You could have just held another election. But anyway, we see where this soldier, the one who called out for help, comes in. He's like, don't move. Each of you step away from the containment area and lie face down on the ground, hands over your heads now. So, pretty bold. You saw them kind of come in and literally wreck shop, and then you'd think you're just going to come up with a gun and tell them what to do. So, very courageous. I respect it. But anyway, Speed Demon comes up, pins him against a wall, and then U.S. Agent comes in to, knock his ass out. So, and then we see Sam also comes in, starts fighting with her. Bucky comes in, starts fighting with her. So they all start kind of getting into it and shit. And then Steve just walks in and says, Warrior Woman, haven't heard squat from you since that Axis Mundi nonsense fell apart. And of course, Aaron has to be the one in the background and be like, aha, another Nazi then. Are you surprised, sir? Don't you look for that? You were literally the one trying to make it to where literally any of his villains were Nazis earlier. So are you that surprised? Anyway, So we see where, like I said, this is where she says, I refuse that infantilizing moniker. Woman or warrior? Which of those words is infantilizing? Please let me know if you think either of those words is infantilizing. Do feel free to put it down in the comments below why you think either the word warrior or woman is infantilizing. Anyway, so she says, well, Sid comes up and she's like, her name is Commander Krieger, you fools. And she kicks Sam over the head. So we see where she's actually getting like the upper hand on him. She slams him into the ground and shit. And then Commander Krieger is coming up and saying, my super soldier sibling, Danke for making it easier to grind you all up at once. Saves me some shoe leather. But then we get this thing where the two unpowered kids come up and ram into her with shields, even though she's a super soldier too. And somehow that's enough to like disorient her. I mean, come on. Between the two of them, they probably weigh 200 pounds combined, soaking wet. And somehow they were able to do that kind of damage to her, but all right. So, and especially since Aaron still has the trash can lid. But, so Ariel says, think we knocked the wind out of her. Maybe? But he says, which is pretty impressive because judging from her size, I'm betting there's a lot of wind in there. So all of a sudden, like, Speed Demon is starting to snap out of it from where I guess he's taken so many blows to the head. And US Agent is telling him, like, hypnotized, huh? And he's asking, like, who are you? He says, I just wrung your bell loose. So we see where she picks up, I don't know if it's just a random shield. I guess it was Sam's because it looks to be black, like the one that Sam carries. So she uses that to hit everybody, knock them all down, and then all of a sudden Steve just runs up and is like, I'm going to need you to stop. So he just like slams her into the ground. He's like, you're what is it? Thank you, I appreciate your cooperation. So we go from there to now Speed Demon is like, you, and then I guess, yeah, it was when he got hit with the shield. That's how US Agent went down. When he's saying, yeah, Speed Demon, you've been their zippy little puppet for a hot minute. And so he's asking, like, why am I dressed like this? He's like, oh, you don't remember that part? She wants to conquer the US of A. So this is where I guess he decides to turn on her. He goes to attack her. But she pulls out a whip, wraps it around his neck, and tells the dog to heel. So they go from there to where Sam comes up to punch her in the face, and then Bucky punches her in the face, but neither of those punches actually does anything to her because she just turns around and starts hypnotizing them with the shield. So she starts doing that, and it starts to actually kind of work, but then Steve comes up and sweeps the leg, takes her down, and then US Agent goes to help, like, the actual soldier. He's telling him, like, shake it off, and then the dude asks him, like, how many Captain Americas are there? And he says, short answer, a shitload. So then we see Steve gets his leg swept in return. She goes up to like let Hatemonger out, and you can see where like the thing is literally lifting up. So they're like, no! And then Steve goes to fight against it, but then Hatemonger turns into Peggy, and he's like, no, it's no way. You're not really Peggy Carter. And she's like, look at you, Steve, a grown man, an elderly man, still dressing up like a child. You embarrass me. You embarrass this country. So she like manages to knock him out, and then US Agent goes to actually keep fighting with Commander Krieger. But when he goes to throw a punch, she just catches it and like starts, I don't know, breaking the bones in his hand, I'm assuming. So we see that she throws him into the other soldier and like just takes off running as like Hatemonger is also flying out of the building. So then we see Steve saying, you know, come on, we've got to go after them, but US Agent says, no, we don't. We've got two of theirs. We don't need to chase them to find out where they're going. So that's where we see Sam is starting to pick her up. And then we get this thing where Bucky says, but the two still out there are Hatemonger and Commander Krieger. For one thing, to whom are you apologizing? She left. And then for another thing, why are you apologizing? For what purpose? It's a villain. Do you really care that much if you get the name wrong? Anyway, so Ariel asks, Commander of what? Jerks? Zing. Roll on the snare for you, girl. Good job. Commander of Jerks. Damn it. Damn it, that's masterful writing. Anyway, so the soldier says Hatemonger is a dangerous asset, and Aaron's like, doesn't seem like an asset to me. So he says, bad word choice. I'm Captain Jeremy Merrick. My assignment was the containment and study of that thing. It was ready to kill me. But Steve comes up and is like, then you can help us recapture it. And John has a point. They're on the defense as long as we get intel out of these two. So she's just like, I will tell you nothing. And he's like, yes, you will. He's like, well, we'll see about that. But Speed Demon says, I'll tell you whatever I can, but I don't know how this happened to me or how long it's been. Because she says, because you're weak. I, on the other hand, my father invented some of the most hideous torture techniques that exist. I've mastered every one of them. So she says, what on earth do you Cub Scouts plan on doing to make me talk, besides asking politely? So U.S. agent comes up. He's like, don't worry, guys. I got this. He's like, just so you know, they revoke, what is it? Hi, Cynthia, John Walker. I was expelled from the Cub Scouts. Why don't we have a chat? So, all right. Pretty tough. That does go in line with U.S. agent. But anyway, that's where that story ends. And the next one is going to be the one that concludes it, apparently. But now we get into the actual backup story of Ariel and how she how she embodies the spirit of Captain America, or how she became Captain America, because that's the thing that they're selling here, is that they're all Captain America. They all deserve to have the name because it's a mantle. Not only is it a mantle, but it's one that can be shared by however fucking many people we want at any given time. So let's get into this, because as we can see, they're getting ready to go to a Halloween party, and all of her little friends are like, come on, like, we don't want to be late or something like that. Everyone's coming. She tells them, you go ahead. I'll be there as soon as I get this eyeliner even. They're like, all right, we'll save you a drink. Don't take too long or you'll miss Elliot. So then we see her roommate is like wrapped up in her blankets and shit. And she's like, you really should go with them and everything. And she's asking like, how's your arm? But she says it doesn't matter. And she's like, I'm worried about you, Mary Beth. She's like, I'm fine. You clearly aren't. All of your friends are getting like dressed up to go out to a party and you're literally wrapped up in a blanket and shit. So she's saying, I'm not letting him get away with this. And then we can see what actually happened, because she has bruises on her arm. So apparently the dude was just kind of like manhandling her, which absolutely, if you do that to a woman, like for no reason, I'm definitely going to be one of those people that like, because I sat in on actual like domestic violence cases wherein the woman was the one beating the shit out of the man and he literally did nothing to her in return because he was told, you never raise your hand to a woman. I mean, things like that happen, and it goes way underreported. Way, way, way underreported are those cases of domestic violence. And that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not saying there's never a reason to at least defend yourself, but when you go out of your way and you're the one causing like the domestic abuse, yeah, you're a piece of shit. You deserve to get your ass handed to you mightily. But anyway, she's saying, like, even if anyone believed me, Elliot Carmichael is untouchable. Half the buildings on campus are named after his family. And you know the school doesn't care about scholarship students like us. The school doesn't care about anybody. But it says, he said if I reported him, the Carmichaels would ruin me. Then he took my phone. God, I feel like such an idiot. So he took your property, which is something pretty easy to prove, as we're going to find out later. So you could have called the cops or somebody. Like, they don't own the police. I get it. Rich and powerful people get away with a lot of shit. But there's some stuff you can't get away with even if you're rich and powerful. Like, there are literally celebrities who are going through like criminal charges and shit right now because you can't get away with everything just because you're rich or famous. So then we see Ariel saying like, what happened to you wasn't your fault. True. Elliot's a predator and a bully. Also true. And I hate bullies. Same. So she's like, Ariel, don't do anything stupid. She's like, who, me? I would never, which you should have already known she was going to. So she gets in her Captain America costume and goes, and of course she sews up, and who does the villain look like? Why, a young Steve Rogers. How ironic. And he's even wearing like a jacket that looks like the old school costume and shit. So she comes in, she's saying he's a lacrosse captain, legacy student. His parents are among the school's biggest donors, and their money has made almost a dozen complaints go away. So he tells her, hey, sexy ninja, want to show me some of your jujitsu? And she's like, no, hard pass. So then he immediately proves what a fucking scumbag he is by just immediately snatching her by the arm in the exact same way he did to the friend, I guess. So, I mean, this is where I'm saying, like, this is even more proof that this is the type of dude who would get his ass kicked pretty soon if anyone were to see him behaving this way. Like, I myself wouldn't allow that shit to happen. And I know plenty of other dudes who wouldn't either, so. But apparently, in this universe, he just has this one little, like, soy cuck friend who's just like, oh, dude, leave her alone. He's like, oh, she was into it. So, She goes upstairs because apparently she's gonna go look for her friend's phone, and for some reason the dumbass, like, if you're gonna take someone's phone because they have evidence against you or something, wouldn't you just destroy it? Instead, apparently he just kept it in his room, fully powered too, as it looks. So she comes in, she finds it, and she's like, "I know you don't want anyone to see those incriminating messages. Shouldn't have touched my best friend. Definitely shouldn't have threatened her via text. But hey, I'll take that evidence. Yeah, what you're doing is burglary. I realize you're doing it for a good reason, but what you're doing is burglary. You're not a cop. You don't have the right to just take evidence." You know what I mean? That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So he comes in and sees someone who has come into his room and is now taking his property. And so he justifiably picks up a weapon and decides, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. So he comes at her. He does this swing, and then she does this thing where she's like, "Oh, he's strong." Well, yeah. He's like pretty much twice your size. And I've never played lacrosse. I don't even think I know anybody who's ever played lacrosse, so I don't know anything about it. But I'm pretty sure you have to be at least somewhat athletic to play it. So yeah, the fact that he's an athlete, yes, he's stronger than you. He could kick your ass. But anyway, he goes up and he's saying, like, want to be costumed vigilante. He's like, "Oh, I know who you're supposed to be, Captain America." But he says, "Give it up. You're no Steve Rogers." And she's like, "Oh, no. I've always been more of a Bucky girl," as she's dressed like Captain America. But she goes up and knees him in the nuts, which I guess is a Bucky thing to do. Is Bucky known for kneeing people in the nuts? I know he's known for playing dirtier, but kneeing people in the nuts? All right. So he's saying, "Yeah, you're not going to get away with it." And he's like, "Oh, God, it hurts." And yeah, it does. But he's like, "Get back here." You literally chases after her. He's like, "Stop that girl, the one who's dressed like..." And then he looks out and sees, oh, it's a whole bunch of heifers who are dressed like Captain America. So she manages to get away and goes back, tells her friend, like, "Oh, don't worry, it was a success. I got your phone back." And then she's like, "Wait, is that his phone?" And she's like, what? I'll never tell. Also, yes. She says, "Everything on it is going to the news tomorrow, after I make a backup copy." Okay. So anyway, like, again, you stole the phone and you're going to give it to the news? What do you expect to happen from that? Anyway, so that's when all of the friends show up, because they were apparently all the ones dressed up as Captain America. So that was the plan. They went to go and serve as the distraction. Which, if you had this many girls with you, why wouldn't you have taken at least one with you into the room? You know what I mean? You fought the dude by yourself when you had a whole cadre of people who were in on it with you. Whatever. So the friend who was abused is saying, like, "I think I want one of those shields," and Ariel tells her, "We'll get you one for next time." So that's where we leave off on this for right now. And I'm just glad the next one is going to be the last issue, because this, I mean, granted, like, the art in this one, like in the main story and everything, was pretty good. Like, the art is nice, but the story is not. Like, and so many of these elements just don't add up. That whole thing about, like, Sam accusing Steve of possibly being descended from slave owners. No, I'm sorry, but no, just no. So I don't know. We'll see how this ends, I guess. But yeah, that's going to do it for me on this review. So if you read this issue, definitely let me know what you thought about it. How do you think this is going to end? What do you think Hate Monger is going to become? Because he still doesn't really have, like, a form or anything, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below if you read this, and if you enjoyed the video, then definitely like the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you would like, go ahead and share out the video. I always appreciate it. But if you're done here, then go and read a book. And if not, well, then I'll see you on my next video.